Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So since last year, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats, have been trying to pass a bill together that, if passed, would increase benefits by quite a bit for millions of Social Security beneficiaries. So we will be covering that bill and what's going on with that. Plus, this past month, thousands of Americans were removed from receiving Social Security benefits, so we will be covering that as well. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $10,000 in free stocks or $10,000 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Moomoo. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then deposit at least $100. At that point, Moomoo will be sending you at least 5 free stocks worth all the way up to $10,000. And if you'd really just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the free stocks is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so every single month we have millions of Americans receiving Social Security benefits, but this past month we actually saw a decline in the amount of Americans receiving benefits. We're going to be going over who we saw that decline in. So according to Newsweek, thousands of people were removed from Social Security. So the number of people who received federal payments from the Social Security Administration declined by about 13,500. Data from the agency showed in March there were about 7.27 million recipients of federal payments compared to 7.284 million in the prior month. Those recipients who qualify based on age were close to 1.115 million last month, slightly more in February when that age group totaled nearly 1.113 million. Those considered blind and disabled who received benefits declined in March to 6.156 million from 6.171 million in February. And finally, the under 18 bracket also fell to about 982,000 last month from 989,000. Those in the 18 to 64 age bracket who received benefits from the federal government totaled 3.96 million, a slight drop from February's data of 3.972 million. For those 65 or older, the figures were about 2.328 million in March, which was higher than the February figure of 2.323 million. Now, it was unclear what drove the decline in the overall number of people who received federal payments for the month. So those actually, receiving retirement benefits, that number continues to increase, whereas those on like blind and disability benefits, for whatever reason, those continue to decrease. So let me know your thoughts and comments below on that. Now, speaking of Social Security, there is currently a bipartisan bill. I know, shocking, right? Democrats and Republicans finally agree on something, and that is that the WEP, or the Windfall Elimination Provision, and the GPO, or the Government Pension Offset, are both nonsense things that need to be repealed either on a full basis or at least a partial basis. Now, last year in 2023, they had a bipartisan bill released. It was led by Garrett Graves and then also led by another Democrat, Abigail Spanberger. And Democrats and Republicans both agree this is something that needs to pass, and they have a lot of co-sponsors. So, for example, in the House, for a bill to pass in the House, they only need 218 House of Representatives to vote. It can be combined with both Democrats and Republicans. So 218 yes votes for a bill to pass. In the House, this bill currently has well over 300 co-sponsors. So that's over 300 people that would for sure vote yes on this bill when they only need 218 in total. So this is a bill that would for sure pass the House. You might be wondering why exactly haven't they voted on yet? Well, it does need to clear different procedural votes and things like that. And right now, some lawmakers are saying, maybe we should repeal it, but not repeal it on a full basis. Instead, maybe we should only do it partially to make it more fair. So we're going to be covering this article here by Federal News Network. So they say repeal or reform. House lawmakers weigh responses to WEP GPO, and we are going to be going over what both of those are in just a minute. So the House is once again nearing a finish line to address 2 provisions limiting Social Security benefits for some federal annuitants, but it's still up in the air what direction Congress will take. Many lawmakers are pushing for a full repeal of the Windfall Elimination Provision, or the WEP, and the Government Pension Offset, GPO. Others are instead looking to keep the provisions but reform their calculations. The WEP and GPO reduce and in some cases eliminate Social Security benefits for some federal retirees and other public sector workers, as well as their spouses, widows, and widowers. For years, some members of Congress have been urging a full repeal of the two provisions to give affected annuitants a full Social Security benefit amount. Advocates have said that WEP and GPO are unfair to those who work in the public sector. The Windfall Elimination Provision, or the WEP, originated back in 1983, and it reduces Social Security benefits for anyone who receives an annuity from their time in government, but who also worked in Social Security covered job, typically a private sector position. WEP impacts roughly 2 million individuals, including employees in the civil service retirement system who were hired to the federal government prior to 1984. Now, the GPO, on the other hand, dates back to 1977 and impacts Social Security benefits of the spouses, widows, or widowers of any individual with a government pension. If 2/3 of a government pension is more than the value of the Social Security benefit, then in that case, the GPO can entirely eliminate a Social Security benefit. Despite agreeing that the WEP and GPO formulas are outdated, a few witnesses at the subcommittee hearing said they still want to maintain what they said was equity between public and private sector workers. For now, it's unclear what exact language lawmakers will choose should they decide to move forward with a reform rather than a full repeal of the WEP and GPO. And while expressing appreciation for the subcommittee hearing, Spanberger and Graves still said that a full repeal of the WEP and GPO will bring the most relief to those who are negatively impacted. So again, this is obviously great news for those who work both in the public sector and the private sector, those currently receiving a pension, because they are receiving a pension because of that very fact. Their Social Security benefit is going to be reduced to a lower level than what they should be receiving. So if this gets repealed, even just on a partial basis, this is going to result in a pretty good increase for them on a monthly basis for their Social Security benefit for retirees now and for retirees in the future. We will have to see if they can pass this bill. They have about 8 months left to pass it by the end of this year. Otherwise, it'll have to once again be reintroduced next year in 2025 for the next Congress. Now, in some other news, something to keep an eye out for today is it looks like they might be passing more aid, or at least passing in the form of a bill. Not sure if it's exactly going to get to Joe Biden's desk to be signed into law this weekend, probably at some point next week. But according to The Hill, House advances Ukraine-Israel aid as Dems help Speaker Johnson GOP. So the House advanced legislation on Friday to send aid to Ukraine and other embattled U.S. allies overseas, clearing a key procedural hurdle after Democrats stepped in to back the measure, a rare move by the minority party, but one that was crucial to nudge the package forward in the face of fierce conservative opposition. The chamber approved the foreign aid rule in a 316-94 vote, opening up a debate on a quartet of bills combining military aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan with humanitarian assistance to Gaza and other global war zones. The successful rule tees up final passage of all four measures, which are scheduled to hit the floor in separate votes on Saturday afternoon today. But the bipartisan vote is sure to land Johnson in more hot water with his right flank, which has sharply criticized the package, both for the billions of dollars in Ukraine aid and the exclusion of border security, and have long denounced the Speaker's tendency to work with Democrats to advance key priorities, including now foreign assistance. So, of course, we have a few Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a few others who are very upset with Mike Johnson, and before they were very upset with Kevin McCarthy, and because they were passing more aid for Ukraine and working with Democrats and not passing aid for our very own border, they're now threatening to oust Mike Johnson, much like they were able to oust the former speaker in Kevin McCarthy from their role. And so because we have very few Republicans agreeing that Mike Johnson is not the best fit for the role, it looks like they might actually end up kicking Mike Johnson out of the House Speaker role, much like they were able to kick Kevin McCarthy out. Now, this time around, Mike Johnson might actually have some Democrats come to his aid And if they were to hold a vote on whether or not to keep Johnson as the House Speaker, we might actually have Democrats joining with the majority of Republicans to keep Johnson as the Speaker. That way we don't have that huge disruption like we had prior, where we had to go through multiple House Speaker votes and finally ended up having Mike Johnson as the House Speaker. But let me know your thoughts and comments below. Should we be sending more foreign aid abroad to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan? Let me know your thoughts and comments below about that. But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.